got, this is combustion of pure hydrogen. 2H2 plus O2 give you 2H2O. That's the simplest form of combustion. That's what it's saying is, if you've got two molecules of hydrogen and you combine them and they get a chemical reaction with 1 mole of oxygen, in other words, put an ignition source in, you will get 2 molecules of water. That is the simplest form of combustion. That is the burning of hydrogen. But what does this actually mean? Well, let's explain it. I've got 1 molecule of hydrogen, and H2, have you noticed it's always H2O2N2? And that is because there's no such thing as a hydrogen atom flying around. It's got to be in molecular form, and a molecule of hydrogen contains 2 atoms of hydrogen with a bond between them. It's like holding hands. And they haven't got strong bonds, they've got a bond. Now, hydrogen is a flammable gas. No, those bonds actually aren't very strong, but they've got a bond. What happens if you put an ignition source in the air with hydrogen? Well, if you put an ignition source, what happens is that ignition source breaks the bond. So now, from 1 molecule of hydrogen, you have now got 2 atoms of hydrogen, which are called radicals. When you see a little star next to it, that is a radical. Now, these radicals have got high energy, and they cannot exist independently for a long period of time. In other words, they can't stay like that. They've got to combine with other molecules. They've got to. So what happens is you burn hydrogen, you get hydrogen radicals. What do? Well, they fly around in the air and they can bump into other molecules. What might one of these bump into? Well, it could bump into an oxygen molecule. Well, what's an oxygen molecule? Well, it's O2. 2 oxygen atoms combined by a bond, holding hands. Now, this oxygen molecule is minding its own business, flying around, and this hydrogen radical, which has got high energy, smashes into it and it breaks the bond. And what it does, when it breaks the bond, it combines with one of them. And what you'll find is you'll get this. You'll get an OH hydroxyl radical and an oxygen radical. This is why it's the chain. From what you started with, 1 molecule of hydrogen, you've got 2 radicals, now you've got 3. Do you see what's happening when you get combustion? You're recreating, you're moving some type of molecule, you're combining it with oxygen to make other molecules, and that is what combustion is. Now, these radicals cannot exist independently, so now these radicals fly. If you've got an OH flying around, you've got an oxygen radical flying around, what could happen now? Well, the hydroxyl radical might bump into, which it eventually will do, a hydrogen molecule. When it does, it breaks the hydrogen molecule and it combines to form H2O. What is H2O? Well, it's a molecule of water.